There's been many impressive rookie drivers in Formula 1 over the years, and it's fair to say that Oscar Piastri is firmly among that list, as in his first year in the spotlight he continues to get better and better as each race passes. On the face of it, his results actually look a little bit disappointing from the outside, but behind that is a driver who's continuing to prove just why he is so highly rated and why he's being tipped to go on to be a future Grand Prix star. As we are 10 races into the beginning of Piastri and McLaren's relationship, I thought it'd be a good idea to sort of analyse his season so far and to ponder a bit of a question as to whether he's the most impressive rookie driver since a certain Max Verstappen. Because when thinking about this, I think there actually are quite a few parallels, more than you might think, between Verstappen and Piastri's rookie seasons in terms of the expectations and the pressure that was on them to deliver, given just how highly rated both were when they entered Formula 1. You could say that out of all the rookie drivers that have come into Formula 1 in the last 10 or 15 years or so, that Oscar has had to deal with a kind of pressure that none of these drivers have had to deal with themselves. And that's not just a weight of expectation because of the impressive results he had during his junior career. It's also the fact that he was embroiled in a contract saga between McLaren and Alpine over his services. Piastri is just one of those drivers who was instantly able to adapt to whatever discipline he was racing in from the outset. He won back-to-back championships 3 years in a row at junior level, including winning the F3 and F2 titles in 2020 and 21 at his first attempt. But it's not just about how impressive and successful he was in those junior categories. It's about the fact that in the middle of last year, he of course found himself in a bit of a tug-of-war between Alpine and McLaren to try and sign him up for the 2023 season. And this saga threatened to get extremely messy, particularly when Alpine argued their case that they had a valid contract in place with Oscar for 2023. But then, of course, the Contract Recognition Board voted in McLaren's favour, and so Oscar was a McLaren driver alongside Lando Norris for this season. And this left Oscar in a particularly difficult situation because he was at risk of being made out to be the bad guy in this saga as it continued to drag out, particularly when Alpine called him out on his decision to effectively decline their offer of a race seat and try and pursue a deal with McLaren instead. They effectively called him ungrateful for turning his back and deciding to sign for one of their closest rivals. So Oscar was then suddenly in a position where he's not just got the pressure to perform from the outset, he's now got to prove to everyone, including himself, that choosing McLaren over Alpine was the right move for his career. I think that it is fair to say that Oscar has made the right choice. McLaren's environment very much suits the way that he likes to go about his work. And on top of that, McLaren has been extremely complimentary about the way that Oscar is working behind the scenes, just how focused and driven he is, not just to improve himself as a driver, but to help McLaren improve on track as well. Even Lando Norris has been open about just how much of an asset Piastri has been to the team this season, speaking about how he is getting better as a driver because Oscar is keeping him on his toes, even if the qualifying head-to-head may look a bit one-sided. It's currently 9-1 in Lando's favour, but the gap between them is significantly closer than when Lando was racing alongside Daniel Ricciardo. And on top of that, Oscar has made it to the final part of qualifying 4 times, which is only 1 less than Lando has managed. The fact that Oscar is keeping up with Lando and is delivering the kind of performances that McLaren need from both of its drivers shows why McLaren was absolutely right to fight so hard to sign Oscar in the first place, and it shows just how much it was held back by Daniel Ricciardo's struggles during his difficult 2-year spell at the team. But for me, the most impressive thing about Oscar's rookie season is the fact that he hasn't made any of what you would call rookie errors. He's generally kept his nose clean in wheel-to-wheel combat and consistently brings the car home. The only minor skirmishes that he's had this season were in Saudi Arabia and Austria, when he lost his front wing through no fault of his own really. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. But going back to my original point of comparing him with Max Verstappen as a rookie, it's not just the lack of errors and the consistent performances, it's the fact that both of them were thrust into the spotlight under immense pressure to prove that all the hype around them was justified. Max was able to cope with that brilliantly. He was completely unfazed by the fact that he had so much pressure and expectation on his shoulders, which was particularly impressive considering he was just 17 years old at the time. Oscar is possessing some of the qualities that Max showed. He's completely focused on the driving side of things and not worried about what's going on around him. Even if the stats do show that he's being consistently outperformed by Lando, Oscar is not fazed by this prospect at all, because he knows that in good time he will continue to get better and better as a racing driver and therefore get closer to Lando. Now I know many of you will be thinking that I should have mentioned Charles Leclerc, George Russell or Lando himself as the best rookie since Max, but I just feel that there are more parallels between Oscar and Max's entry into Formula 1 than the others. And what's more impressive is that Oscar, you have to remember, spent a year on the sidelines as a reserve driver for Alpine because he couldn't find a seat after winning the F2 championship in 2021. So the fact that he's had this year off and is on the pace is pretty exceptional. But it's not just Oscar that is improving, it is also McLaren as a team. They have made unbelievable progress since the start of the season when they were well off the pace in Bahrain. But here we are speaking after the British Grand Prix, where they managed to qualify both cars in the top three, and they were clearly the second fastest car behind Red Bull. This is down to them pushing on with an aggressive development plan that is now reaping the rewards. We saw when the new package debuted in Austria in Lando's hands, but it was a clear step forward. But even so, I don't think anybody, including McLaren, expected them to be as quick as they were at Silverstone. They certainly caught everybody's eye, and what was particularly impressive was the pace that they showed on the whole compound tyre at the end of the race after the safety car period, when both Lando and Oscar were able to keep cars behind them on softer rubber. Silverstone was without a doubt Oscar's best weekend in Formula 1 so far. He qualified third on the grid and ran third comfortably in the race. It was only the timing of the safety car that robbed him of a chance of a maiden podium finish. He still managed to finish in fourth place, but with McLaren continuing to make strides with his car and Oscar getting better as a driver, I think it's just a case of his time will come, especially if McLaren can continue this kind of form for the rest of the season. But I'm sure that there'll be plenty more opportunities for Oscar to get on that podium. On the whole, Oscar has shown credentials of being a future world champion both on and off the track, whether that be his racecraft, his composure behind the wheel, or his work ethic. All in all, he is an immensely impressive driver, there's no doubt about it. So it's not really a surprise to see that in his rookie season, he's becoming somewhat of a sensation. So there you have it. How would you rate Oscar Piastri's rookie season so far? And do you think that he's the most impressive rookie since Max Verstappen? Be sure to let me know what you think in the comments. But also, don't forget to leave a like on this video and to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.